Hi, this is Chelle of Chelle's Creations. I love photo books. I love how easy they are to look through. I love how compact they are compared to my drop-in pocket page albums. When I first started scrapbooking, I was doing page protector drop-in layouts, and when you would drop the album, then things would go flying everywhere. If you tipped it upside down, stuff would fall out. And then I went to strap hinge albums, and those were big and really big. In fact, our family album was a 12 by 15, so if you opened it up, then you were looking at 24 inches by 15 inches, too big for children to look through. So I love how compact they are. I love how durable they are. I've been printing photo books for more than 10 years with at least 6 different companies that I could count off the top of my head. I own over 100 photo books. Several of them are multiple copies of the same book because a lot of times I will print a book for myself and for each of my kids. But I counted them before preparing this review, and I quit when I got to 100. I was recently contacted about doing a photo book review. Since I had already created several books with both of the two companies, I was happy to agree to share my findings. Okay, so first up I need to tell you how I typically print. Prior to this review, I usually print an annual yearbook with a company called Peekaboo, P-I-C-A-B-O-O. The primary reason that I use Peekaboo is that they had the highest maximum number of pages allowed. Every year when I do an annual yearbook, I have to limit the number of layouts I can include because of that maximum page number. So it was a big deal to me to whether it was going to be 100 pages or 140 pages. And so that's kind of what got me started with Peekaboo. This past year, I decided to try the seamless Layflat photo book printing. I knew that meant I would have to do a volume 1 and volume 2, but I decided to try it and just see how it turned out. The reason I wanted to go with the seamless Layflat is because prior to this review, I usually printed all of my other photo books, things like vacation photo books or design portfolios or other things, shorter things, were always printed with a company called Adoramapix, A-D-O-R-A-M-A-P-I-X. In the past, Adoramapix limited their albums to specific page quantities like 14 pages, 26 pages, 50 something, and 70 pages, or they had some limits. And because of that, their limits were much smaller and you had to do a specific amount. I still use them regularly, but that did not make things as flexible. However, they have changed now to where you can order any number up to their maximum amount. Okay, so it was the Adoramapix Layflats that I loved that persuaded me to try Layflats with Peekaboo instead. So in February, I determined to order the exact same album with Peekaboo and Adoramapix so that I could compare the two. And here are my experiences. Creating a photo book is a kind of a straightforward process with both of these two companies, but let's go through and do a couple of the highlights. In both cases, you just need to choose what it is that you want to do. Seamless Layflat. We just need to choose the size. I'm going to go with the landscape size because that's the size of layouts I had prepared for the book that I did for this review. Looking forward to going to the square ones in 2015. Same thing with Adoramapix. We're going to call this one Test Review. I always like to do the hardcover, the photo on the hardcover, and we're going to go ahead and do the landscape, and I'm going to go ahead and do the 8 by 10. You can also select the paper. I always just go with the standard luster finish, and then you want blank or build your own. Okay, the first thing you need to do when you are creating a book is get your pictures. And so we can get them from our computer. I'm just going to pick a few of them to upload. And then in Peekaboo, you have to go ahead and hit Add to Book. We're going to name this book Test. Now you'll notice right up here they are uploading, and it will tell you how long it's going to take to upload. Typically when I am putting a book together, I'm looking at somewhere between 70, or if it's not the Layflat, I'm looking at 140 pages, and so I will do them in chunks like 30 at a time or 10 at a time. Kind of depends on how fast my internet's going at the time. The same thing is true when I'm working on Adoramapix. If I want to upload from my computer, I'll choose the same 5 again. Well, actually, they may not be the same 5. I'm not sure which ones I uploaded for the last one. Let's see. 1, 2. And again, it also uploads. They do have limits as far as the size that they will upload. I have uploaded 24 by 24 flattened layouts, and I have not had a problem with the size being too big. Now we do something else while we wait for the upload. Okay, now that all of our layouts have uploaded, we're going to go ahead and put the book together. I've only uploaded 6 layouts, and so it's not an entire book, but it'll give us an idea of how things work. The first step is the cover, and for that I brought up the Adoramapix website. The reason for that is because the Adoramapix website is so much more detailed in the information they give you as far as creating a layout. In addition to that, Adoramapix has a page on their website where you can download a PSD version of a template for your cover. The PSDs that they have in there are based on those old page limits they had of 14 pages, 26 pages. So you can just pick the one that is closest to what you are going to be doing, and it'll come really close to it. And as you can see, they have several guidelines on here. And as you can see, they have several guidelines on here so that you know the part that's going to wrap around the edge, or the part that's going to be tucked under, what might show on the inside, what might show on the outside. And those lines are also on the templates that they have. So let's go ahead. When we talk about covers, if we go to Peekaboo, this is what you get for your cover for Peekaboo. So when I was creating my 2011 book for Peekaboo, that's not the one this review is about, but it was the one that before that. I just kind of guessed. I screenshotted this page and then I enlarged it and put it on a layout that I knew was roughly the right size. And then I just went ahead and I would create it, flatten in Photoshop, flatten it, upload it, and look at how it matched with these lines, and then go back and make adjustments and flatten it and upload it and see how it fit within the lines. And it took me about 3 tries to get it right. So that's definitely a disadvantage of the Peekaboo book, is not being able to put that together. But you just go ahead and stick it on here. You say, I want that to be the background, and it sticks it on there in that size. You don't have any ability to move or adjust or resize or anything. That is the size it is, that is the cover, and that's ready to go. And that's why you have to do all of that adjusting ahead of time. Now, you do have the option of just adding individual photos and choosing one of their layouts. This is if you want to design it all yourself as you would any other layout, digitally scrapbook layout. Let's go back to Adoramapix. When you drag one on with Adoramapix, right up here, Fit Fill, you click on Fit Fill, and you can go ahead and put Fill the Spread. Now this will just shows that it's just barely wrapped around, and that means that the part that tucks under is not, that space has not been filled. So you can also enlarge this so that for sure the wrapped part, and that would mean that on the inside of your album, the little part of the cover that sticks up past the outside pages, if you want that to be covered, make sure that you have it, that it goes past these bleed lines right here. That is about the right spot, and then you can look and see if it looks like it's going to be centered to you. Now, when I got both of these covers back, neither one of them were perfectly centered, and that matches my experience with the other albums that I have printed. It's difficult to get perfection on centering those. I think there must be some discrepancies and some flexibility in when they're creating the book itself that they end up not quite centered. But in this method has given me the best way to get them to match up. This layout doesn't have anything fussy. That's what I call it, nothing fussy around the edges, in that I don't have anything that I'm trying to just barely get on. I do have some other photo book covers that I've created where there is something important near the edges, and I do have it go kind of to the edge of the layout design. And I have learned that there are, with the lines on here and the templates that Adoramapix provides, I'm able to come pretty close on those as well. Okay, in the Peekaboo book, Peekaboo does require a title page right here. You can leave it blank, but the first page that they start counting is this one right here. The left-hand side is blank and is just a white page fused to the cover. It's also worth noting at this point that at the back of the book in a Peekaboo book. This side you can add a layout to. All of my layouts are double page spreads or 2 layouts side by side. And so because of that, I didn't use this page either. If you don't use it, it'll be left white. And the back side is a white page with a Peekaboo logo fused to the back cover. It's also it's possible that if in the book ordering process you can pay extra to remove that logo. I don't know for sure. I haven't bothered with that. Quickly just repeat my front cover for my title page there if I'm going to go ahead and have a title page. In the Adoramapix book, the next page, or the first page inside, you have a choice to order end papers in the very end, and that gives you both sides, both the left side and the right side is a white page. It might be possible to order those in different colors. I don't remember for sure. Or you can start with your first layout. The same thing for the back. The very back of your book can also be a layout. I always choose to have a layout there. That does mean that there are little ridges. They're soft ridges, but there's kind of soft bumps or ridges where the wrapping of the front cover is underneath that layout. It's really only that noticeable if you kind of hold it up to the light just right and you can see a little line there. But I just choose to start the book right at the first cover. If you have your photos in alphabetical order, and that's why I name mine carefully, whatever the year is, like I go 2012 page 01_02, and then the next one is 2012 page 03_04, and they end up in alphabetical order being the same as in numerical order, and it makes it lots easier to put it together. And so the other thing I do right here is hide used photos. I always want that turned on. That way what you can see here is going to be the next photo. So then it's just a matter of dragging it on, choosing background spread, and it's ready to go. Go to the next page, drag it on, choose background spread, next page, drag it on, choose background spread, next page. So you can see that this process is very quick. Drag it on, background spread, next page, drag it on, background spread. Okay, let's go back to the Adoramapix version. Adoramapix is similar, but your options are right up here when you click on View Options. I want Show Used to be on, and Show Names. If you turn the names on, the names appear in front of them. If you're confused about which page number you're on, you can turn those on or you can leave them off. Sometimes I do each. You can also sort them by custom sorting. If you don't have them named alphabetically, you have a couple of different options right here to be able to sort them. And the thumbnail size, small or large. Even the large is not very big, so I go ahead and choose that. Same process, drag it on. But on this one, in order to spread it to the entire thing, it's up here under the Fit Fill. Let's fill the spread. So it's one more click than the other one. Next layout. Again, you're just dragging that very front one on. Fit Fill, fill the spread. Next one. You're always grabbing that top one if you have the Show Used on. I like the fact that I can see the layout down here on the bottom of the Adoramapix page. So I know what page I just did. Okay, the other thing to talk about is how to add pages at the end. So each book comes with a standard number of pages. And if you want to add pages to the end, in an Adoramapix book, it's right here. This one is already preset at 10 pages. And then you can go ahead and add 2 pages, 4 pages. There are some standard numbers here, or there's a little radio button here that you can kind of gradually go up by 2s to get to the page numbers that you want. You can add the exact number you want in even numbers to it. In a Peekaboo one, you get to the end and click on Next Page. I guess we have to go all the way to the end. This one had a standard of 10. If you click on Next Page, it'll ask you if you want to add more pages, and it'll ask you how many you want to be able to put in. And again, it's only in multiples of 2 that are inserted. And in both cases, you have an option of adding them either after this spot, before this spot, at the end of the book, wherever it is you want to add those pages. Worth mentioning at this point is that the Adoramapix book maker has these guidelines on it right here. I picked this layout because you can see them kind of best on this one. These thin little white lines that are here tell you what they call it, the trim zone. It's also called the safety zone or the bleed zone or the cropping zone. This space right here may or may not be cropped. When you upload your layouts, you want to fill the spread and you want to fill in that space, because sometimes it will not get cropped and you don't want white strips on the top and sides of your layout. So you always want it to fill that, but you also need to be aware that that part may be cropped off. So in this book, it is set, you can see with your little guidelines right here, it's set at 3/8 of an inch. Or 0.375 of an inch standard, but that is, you can see it when you are uploading your layout. So if you saw something, you'd know that was a problem. In the Peekaboo book, there are no guidelines available when you're uploading. Those things don't appear until the preview part. So let's go on now that we've finished putting our book together, and let's go ahead and preview it. Peekaboo Book, it's the button right up here for preview, and it will upload the pages one at a time in low resolution. I don't know how well you can see this from the video, but there is a button up here that you can say save this in high resolution, and then you have to wait while it uploads the high resolution. And you can see from this what is expected to be cropped and what is not expected to be cropped. The yellow zone all the way around the outside, this is where you can see. So you've already got it uploaded and ready to go when you're finding out what might be cropped. And for the record, I want to note, because this will come up later, that you can see all of my words right here and none of them are cropped. The zone does come up right to the bottom of the words, but they are not cropped off in this particular layout. When you want to see different layouts in this one, it's these little arrows right here on the bottom. No, I guess we should not go backwards, huh? And again, it just uploads your low resolution until you click up here and say that you want to see it in high resolution. So it's a little bit slow to go through. You do have the option of taking the safety zones off right down here in the corner. So that's how you do the preview in that one. In the Adoramapix book, the preview is right up here on the top, and you can go ahead and hit preview. And it shows you as if you were looking at the book. So what you see right here is the spine and the front cover, and then when you click in the corner, it turns the pages. There are no marks in this one to show you what the bleed zone is. You have to get that from when you created it. They were there. I like this, the look of looking through it, because as you see it this way, even in the fact that my pages were numbered and everything, one of the layouts that I created, I actually missed a spread, and so I had a white page in there, and it wasn't until I was going through the preview like this that I realized that I had a spread that was white in there, and then I could go in and take it out. There is this warning up here that says you've placed objects within the trim area. When they're too close to the edge of a page, they may be trimmed during printing. If you don't have anything important inside there, you can ignore this message and continue. That will always appear if you've uploaded and filled to the spread, and it is that little edge on there. Okay, let's move to pricing. When you are ordering your book, this one was really the thing that this surprised me probably the second most about this book review. I had always known that Adoramapix books were expensive compared to budget printing like Arts Cow, and not Layflat and not photo paper. And that yes, there were substantially cheaper books that you could print, but they looked cheaper. And I always believed that it was the adage, you get what you pay for. So I was shocked when I saw the actual prices of ordering these two books. The Adoramapix book was $131.60 for, I think it's 74, it might be 76, I can't remember exactly. It's right around 75 pages. 76 pages, that's what it's, okay, it says it's 76 pages, $131.60 is the full price, no discounts, no coupons. Peekaboo, same thing. With Peekaboo, because I have the blank white page on the end and the cover page, it's 77 pages, and it's $165.49 without any coupons or discounts. And I thought that maybe it was just those two, but when I pulled up the pricing chart for Shutterfly is $178.09 for the same number of pages in a seamless Layflat book. So I was pleasantly surprised to find out that Adoramapix was in line with other Layflat seamless book prices as well. However, coupons and discounts can affect these prices. When I put together my 2011 book. Now I'm a few years behind, so it was 2014 when I was putting that together. The spring of 2014, I got an email coupon from Peekaboo, and it was to buy a voucher similar to this one. So the voucher was a discount where you spend the money now, and you get a it's worth twice as much later, or whatever percent they decide. And I purchased some in the spring of 2014, planning every year I try to finish a book in time for Christmas, and I figured I would use it on that book. And I read the fine print, and I could use multiple coupons, multiple vouchers, and the thing I liked the most about it was it said that if I didn't make the deadline, then it reverted back to its original value. So if I spent $150 on vouchers, if I didn't meet the deadline, I got my $150 I could still spend on a book. And so I went ahead and ordered them, and as it turns out, I didn't meet the deadline. I was confused. I misunderstood the doesn't ever expire to mean the original value, not the sale price. So come December 7th, when I was ready to print my book, it turned out that my vouchers were no longer good, but they were good for their original value. And at the time, Peekaboo was having a different buy one get one half price sale or something like that. So I just went ahead and ordered my books. But at the end of my purchase, when I had paid for them, got them ordered and everything, I got a chance to buy one of these vouchers again. And I think at the time it was like spend $20, get $60 worth of product. So because that had been such a pleasant experience before, I went ahead and purchased them. But this time I didn't just purchase a few. I purchased enough to order 2 volumes for myself and each of my kids for my 2012 book. And the deadline on that one was February 21st or something like that, or February 3rd. I can't even remember. But I knew at the time that I had most of 2012, excuse me. I had most of 2012 done, and so it wouldn't be that hard for me to finish it. And January's a little slow, so I thought I could get it done and it'd be good motivation. So I went to work on creating that. Sadly, when it came time for me to use those, and it was the last day of it, I pulled them up to use them, and it would only let me use 1 voucher on a purchase. And I was completely frustrated. I went back and researched and reread, and at that time looked at the voucher that they were offering at that time, and it did say only one. It didn't say it on the vouchers that I had purchased, but it did say it in the fine print on their website that I could find, that you could only use 1 voucher per purchase. And because of that, the money that I had purchased to put towards this book I wasn't able to do that. It would only let me use 1 at a time, and even if I did a different book and reordered each one, I was still only going to be able to use 8 of the vouchers, and it was only going to cover a small portion of the cost of each of the books. I called and complained. I complained about it says 100% satisfaction guaranteed all over everywhere. I didn't get anywhere. In the back of my mind, I went, well, that's okay, because by now I was planning on doing this book review, and I thought I'll just print 1 with Peekaboo and I'll print the rest with Adoramapix. And my vouchers were supposed to revert back to the original price the following day, since that was the last day. So I called customer service, and they verified that yes, indeed, during 2014 their policy did change, and I just didn't read the fine print. But when I said okay, then they'll just revert to their regular price tomorrow, and I'll go ahead and order my book tomorrow. She said, well, actually, they don't revert back to their original price for another week or so afterwards. That was very exasperating to me. I couldn't use them at the sale price because of the new rule, and I couldn't use them for their original price either. And it wasn't until several phone calls and insisting on speaking to a supervisor that they agreed after a few days to lower them back to their original price and allow me to use them. And I ended up putting all of them towards purchasing just volumes 1 and 2, 1 copy of my 2012 album. I think it's important to mention this as part of my review because these vouchers seem to imply that you can get substantial discounts on these books. And while it's true that there are some discounts and companies offer coupons, be very careful about the fine print, because when you see things like discount 67%, that's only on a very small portion of the book. Okay, and ultimately when I ordered my Adoramapix book, I used a % off coupon for theirs as well. If I am printing a smaller book, one that's under 20 pages or so, I look for those that say print a book for $15.99 or print a book for something $8.99. When I'm going to print a full book, a full 74-page book, I look for those % offs because it's so much more with those additional pages that generally the % off ones are a better way to go. So I ordered my Adoramapix book. I ordered my Peekaboo books one day. I ordered the Adoramapix books the next day. The Adoramapix books came the day before the Peekaboo books. So the Adoramapix books shipping was slightly faster, but both of them came within a week of when I ordered them. And there was a huge difference between the 2 books. Let's start with the cover. It's difficult to capture in photos or video the differences in the cover, but it was a little easier to see in my 2011 one. So here's a picture of the 2011 ones, and I kind of put them also in the light so that you could see the differences. The cover of the Peekaboo album is dull and slightly gray. It looks like it has a thin plastic film covering it. It doesn't. I looked at the edges to see if it was a protective film I was supposed to take off. It's not one that's meant to be removable. The surface feels dull, almost slightly dirty, and there's a resistance as you rub your hand across the surface. The interior pages of the album are at least 1/4 of an inch smaller than the cover on the 3 sides, and you can see that in this photo, how you can see the gap as to where it folds over. It's almost like when you purchase appliances or electronics, how they have that thin plastic film on them. It's a protective film. It's almost like that on the book. It's like having just a 5 to 10% opacity layer of light gray on the book. The cover of the Adoramapix album is saturated and shiny. I don't mean shiny like it reflects on everything, but I can hold it in the light. In this photo you can see that I got the light on it so that you could see the shine. On the top one is the Adoramapix book. The bottom one is the Peekaboo book. So that you could see the shine of the so again, it reflects that light if you hold it in just the right position, but it's shiny, it's smooth. It has a very slightly pebbly finish like a photograph. It's smooth to the touch. And the interior pages of an Adoramapix book are very close to the same size as the cover. If you look the bottom right-hand corner of this photo, you can see that there's not near the gap that there was in the other one. They are really close to the same size. As far as the paper that's used on the inside, the Peekaboo paper appears to be a heavy cardstock with a glossy kind of magazine-like surface. I could not find any specific information about the actual paper they use on their website. The Adoramapix paper is actual photo paper, and it looks like it. It looks so sharp. Both books are nearly the same thickness, both their cover thickness, the pages in the middle, and the overall thickness. They are really close to the same thickness. However, the images on the inside pages are not. The Peekaboo images are much lighter, almost washed out in comparison to the Adoramapix images. The Adoramapix images are saturated and look like photos that I have had printed professionally as well. Here's a couple of comparisons. You can see the differences. They're labeled. Sometimes I had the Peekaboo book on top. Sometimes I had the Adoramapix book on top. So I went back through and made sure that they're all labeled correctly. But you can tell from looking. You'll look at them and go, oh, that saturated one, that's the bold saturated colors is the Adoramapix, and the washed out colors, lightened colors, is the Peekaboo. On some of the pages, there's almost a light blue cast to the washing out. Even I did some close-ups here as well, so that you can see it's a little more blue and much more washed out. Now, as far as the comparison here, if you're going, well, I like lighter, or I like something that's lighter, it's hard to explain that without looking at them for you to see that it does look more washed out. The Adoramapix images match photos I've had printed professionally. However, if you're comparing a photo to a screen, a computer screen that has not been calibrated, so it's a super bright backlit screen, any printed image from any company will look a little darker than that. And so if you calibrated your monitor, then you'll get that true color, and I do have a calibrated monitor. The thing I was most disappointed about, it was the trim, some companies call it the bleed, the safety zone, in the Peekaboo album. Some of the pages I uploaded had items in the bleed that were cut off in the Peekaboo book, but not cut off in the Adoramapix book. In this image you can see the stripe of the plaid paper on top in the Adoramapix version. You can see that you could see just a little bit of that striped paper, but that was completely cut off in the Peekaboo book. Now, I anticipated that because it was in the safety zone in the preview, so I anticipated that might be cut off. However, even if I didn't have the Adoramapix album for comparison, I would still be disappointed in the Peekaboo cropping. There is a section in my Volume 1 book, in the second half of the book, where the bleed is very off-centered, page after page after page. This page is a good example of that. This peaked trim that I used on the top and bottom, on my original layout, it was even on the top and the bottom of the page. However, in the Peekaboo book, it's mostly visible on the top and mostly invisible on the bottom. It's off-centered. It's like the pages were shifted down when they were printed in that section of the book. It's true of several pages in this section. Much more is cropped from the bottom of the page than what was on the top. More so than was covered by the yellow safety zone. In fact, it's nearly 3/4 of an inch that's cropped off down there. In many cases, this cropped off some of my text. Typically, when I'm creating pages, just after years of creating pages, I allow a 1/2 inch on all edges for text and important stuff. I don't put anything text or important stuff out there. I do put some design elements, and sometimes they're cropped off and sometimes they're not. But with Peekaboo, even that 1/2 inch was not enough. You'll notice in this one that the title on that page was Always and Forever, and you can see in the Adoramapix book, it's all of it shows, it's just fine, it's right there. In the Peekaboo book, that's cropped off, where you'll notice that at the top there's plenty of the other things at the top were not cut off. In this one, you can see that the bottom line of the text was cut off in this one, the bottom whole line of text, and in this one, and this is the one that I showed you the preview earlier, where it shows what was in the safety zone, and those words were not in the safety zone. They should have showed up, but they were again cropped off. In fact, in 2 of the pages in the 2012 albums, pieces of my QR codes were chopped off such that they don't work. So my final summary is that I was pleasantly surprised with my results. I expected the Adoramapix albums to be outstanding because I've used them before, and they were outstanding. I've always justified spending what I thought was a lot more for these higher quality albums, but in doing this review, I learned that I'm not spending more. The Adoramapix albums are in line with the other company's seamless Layflat books, yet the quality is just outstanding in comparison. I don't want washed out photos in my photo albums. I don't want off-centered photos. I don't want important items to be chopped off. I don't want to leave everything in the center of the page so it isn't chopped off. I like the ease of having the PSD template to create my cover, and I like being able to choose to have end papers or leave them out and remove the logo. My original plan was to continue to do reviews comparing other book companies. However, it's unlikely I will do another review because it is very unlikely I will print with another company. Competitive pricing and outstanding quality means I will just be printing with Adoramapix from here on out. If you are watching this review shortly after I put it out, Adoramapix has authorized me to offer a coupon code, and I will link to the post that includes that information down below this video. It's a great opportunity. Give them a try. If you see them on a Groupon, or if they're offering, follow their Facebook page and watch for them to offer a coupon code that you can use. Give them a try. Pick your favorite layouts and just print a book, because when you hold an Adoramapix book in your hands and you see how fabulous that looks, it's just outstanding. If you have any questions, you can reach me at shells.creations1@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.